Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're asking you to, look ahead a bit. Think about the rapid changes shaping our world, tech, environment, you name it. It's moving incredibly fast.
It really is. Almost dizzying sometimes.
Exactly. So the big question for us today is, how is education evolving? Or maybe, how should it be evolving to meet these, frankly, unprecedented challenges, preparing us for futures we can't even fully predict yet?
Right.
And to get into this, we've pulled together some really interesting material. We've got research from the World Economic Forum, UNESCO reports, some sharp insights from McKinsey and Company, and quite a bit more, actually.
Yeah, and our mission today is basically to unpack all of that for you. We'll get into how technology, especially AI, is transforming personalized learning right now. But it's broader than just tech, isn't it? We also need to look at how society's shifting, demanding new skills, new ways of teaching, maybe even rethinking what a school actually is. The goal is to give you those key takeaways, those nuggets of knowledge, so you feel really clued in on this complex landscape of education's future.
Okay, so technology. That seems like the obvious starting point when we talk about education changing. Let's dive into that first, the really transformative potential of AI in making learning personal. Imagine tools that actually adapt to you.
A powerful idea.
It really is. And there's data, too. A McKinsey study suggests AI tools could help close the academic achievement gap by, get this, up to 20%.
Wow, 20% is huge.
It's massive. Think about what that means, not just scores, but unlocking potential for so many students who maybe struggled with the old one-size-fits-all model.
Yeah, definitely.
And the applications, according to Hurix Digital, are really varied. We're talking adaptive learning tech stuff that actually changes based on how you're doing, which is amazing for neurodiversity.
Right, meeting different needs.
Exactly. And skillful mentoring, multifaceted learning, individualized assessment, support for special ed, even predictive analysis to spot problems early on.
And those AI chatbots fit right in here, don't they?
Tell us about those.
Well, these aren't just simple Q&A bots anymore. AI and machine learning make them mimic human-like interactions pretty well.
Okay.
So think about it. Instant answers to questions, helping students learn to ask for help, self-advocacy.
Oh, that's interesting.
Even improving language skills. They can offer personalized materials, immediate feedback. They adapt to different learning styles, different speeds. It's like having a tutor on call 24/7 in a way.
So it's not just helping the students directly, it's also about empowering the teachers.
Precisely. That's a huge piece of the puzzle.
The World Economic Forum talks about this, how automation and augmentation, using things like large language models, LLMs, can take over a lot of the routine admin tasks that just bog teachers down.
The paperwork, the grading grunt work.
Right. Freeing them up for the stuff that really matters, creative curriculum design, and crucially, those human interactions. Refining teaching methods, social emotional support, individual help, talking to parents.
Yeah, the relational side of teaching.
And teachers are catching on fast. In the UK, for example, generative AI used by teachers jumped from 17% in April 2023 to 42% just by November.
That's a massive leap in just a few months. Shows how fast things are moving.
It really does.
And this isn't just admin help, it's also changing assessment. Which leads to the question, how does AI impact how we measure learning?
Good question.
The benefits seem pretty clear. Educators get real-time, data-driven insights. They can see trends, spot strengths, weaknesses, see if their teaching is actually working.
Much faster feedback loop.
Exactly. And AI can even evaluate non-standard tests more efficiently. Plus, it provides immediate feedback, kind of like a human tutor would, helping students understand why they made a mistake.
And there's research supporting this tutor-like effect, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Benjamin Bloom's classic study showed one-to-one tutoring with tests and feedback boosted student performance by, almost everyone did better, 98% better.
98%.
Incredible, right? And Stanford research found even short, 10-minute daily tutoring sessions significantly improved literacy.
So even small targeted interventions make a difference.
They do, and we're seeing this applied now, like the Letras program in Brazil using AI for literacy with 170,000 students.
Wow.
Or in Uruguay, the CEPL program teaching computational thinking and AI across different subjects with a real focus on ethics and reducing gender gaps, too.
So ultimately, the goal here, as the World Economic Forum puts it, isn't replacing people. It's preparing students to learn alongside these technologies.
Right. Working with AI, not being pushed out by it.
Okay, so tech is one huge driver. But it's not just the tools, is it? It's also about what we learn, the skills we need for this uncertain future. That takes us to Education 4.0.
Yeah, the skills piece is critical. What do people actually need to thrive? Learning.com outlines some key areas. First, global citizenship, supporting collaboration across cultures, expanding your learning network, connecting with people anywhere, using things like Google Maps or VR to experience places, or Zoom to talk to experts globally.
Right, breaking down geographical barriers.
Exactly. Then there's innovation and creativity, essential for problem solving when things change so fast.
Makes sense.
So students develop complex problem solving, critical thinking, computational thinking, data analysis, design skills, through hands-on stuff like maker spaces, project-based learning, coding, real-world data projects.
Learning by doing, basically.
Pretty much. And third, crucially, interpersonal skills. Social emotional intelligence, collaboration, communication, empathy, adaptability.
The human skills.
The really human skills, using collaborative software, communication tech, video conferencing to engage with different viewpoints.
This all sounds like it feeds into this idea of lifelong and student-driven learning. What does that actually mean for you listening?
Well, it means you have to learn how to learn, continuously adapt, be a self-starter, adopt that growth mindset driven by curiosity, taking opportunities to direct your own learning path. It's about fostering that intrinsic motivation.
So the learning models themselves have to change too.
Fundamentally, the OECD Learning Compass 2030 talks about this big shift, moving from fixed standards to showing competency, mastery.
Right.
From one-size-fits-all to adaptive learning. From just receiving knowledge to actively innovating and inquiring.
You're getting rid of those subject silos.
Yes, towards transdisciplinary, real-world learning. And schools moving from being isolated bubbles to being really embedded in their communities.
Interesting. And what about basic literacy? Is that changing too?
It's broadening. UNESCO emphasizes that. It's not just reading and writing anymore. It's understanding and expressing yourself in all forms, speaking, writing, but also through media, storytelling, arts.
More holistic communication.
Exactly. They mention same language subtitling in India as a neat example for improving reading skills widely. And there's a big push for plurilingualism.
So speaking multiple languages.
Yes, moving away from just focusing on one national language. Embracing foreign languages, indigenous languages, sign languages, giving high-quality options in home and ancestral languages to support cultural identity.
Okay, so we've talked tech, we've talked skills.
Yeah.
But what about the foundations?
Yeah.
The people, the schools, the big societal challenges. It's amazing, globally, education access has skyrocketed. Like 95% of people today have attended school versus maybe 45% back in 1948.
Huge progress, absolutely.
Equality and equity. Still a long way to go, right?
Definitely. And the question is, why are those gaps still so persistent? The UNESCO report really highlights these inequalities.
Like what?
Well, 1 in 4 young people in lower-income countries still can't read properly. Huge gaps in secondary school enrollment, especially for girls in low-income countries. Only about 35% enrolled compared to over 90% in high-income nations.
That's stark.
It is. And the reasons are complex, but often linked to poverty, gender discrimination. Think about this. For every 100 boys at a primary school in sub-Saharan Africa, there are 123 girls.
Right.
Indigenous identity, disability, these factors still create massive barriers.
Which brings us straight to the teachers. How critical are they in all this?
Absolutely central. UNESCO is crystal clear. Teachers are the most significant factor in educational quality. Provided, of course, they get the recognition, the training, the support, resources, autonomy, and ongoing development they need. They call them transformative agents.
But there are huge challenges there too, right? Shortages.
Massive shortages. We'll need close to 70 million new primary and secondary teachers worldwide by 2030 just to meet basic UN goals. Sub-Saharan Africa is facing the biggest crunch.
And the pandemic surely didn't help teachers' stress levels.
Not at all. It made burnout much worse. The solution, according to the report, has to involve making teaching a truly collaborative profession.
Meaning teams of teachers, specialists.
Exactly. Teams of specialists, universities working closely with schools on teacher education. And they make a powerful point. No technology, not yet anyway, can replace a good human teacher.
That's reassuring in a way.
It is. And this leads to rethinking the schools themselves. What should they be?
Yeah, what's the vision there?
The idea is schools as protected spaces that actively foster inclusion, equity, well-being. Places that deliberately bring diverse groups together.
So the design needs to change.
Completely. Architecture, use of space, schedules, how students are grouped all need to be rethought to enable collaboration, moving away from rigid factory-like models towards becoming learning organizations where teachers collaborate, innovate, share.
Like hubs of learning, not just for kids, but for educators too.
Precisely. And schools should model the future we want. Become examples of sustainability, carbon neutrality, with students actually leading projects.
That makes sense. And COVID really highlighted the social role of schools, didn't it?
It really did. Showed how vital they are for social well-being and how limited virtual classrooms are as substitutes for real human interaction.
Okay, but we started with tech. Let's circle back to the potential downsides. There must be ethical concerns, cautions.
Oh, absolutely. UNESCO raises some big red flags. AI, for instance, can easily entrench existing biases, stereotypes, gender bias, racism if it's trained on biased data.
Right, garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. And personalized learning, if it just defines students by past performance, could actually limit their potential for reinvention, for self-discovery. The report stresses technology is not neutral.
What are the risks?
Risks to knowledge diversity, cultural inclusion, transparency, intellectual freedom. Think about who controls the digital infrastructure.
Like Google Classroom, Google Scholar.
Yeah. Often, these services are controlled by private companies, and they aren't even their main business. They're kind of incidental. So are they sustainable long-term? It's precarious.
Surveillance, all those sensors and algorithms.
Big concerns there, too. Ubiquitous surveillance could have a chilling effect on freedom of expression, on intellectual autonomy.
Yeah.
We need to be really careful.
So how do we balance the innovation with these human values?
That's the critical question. And despite all the tech advances, the consensus seems to be that those interpersonal connections, strong relationships, they remain absolutely crucial for learning and for actually creating better, more just, more sustainable futures together.
Which brings us to maybe the most urgent need identified in the sources. Creating curricula for a damaged planet.
Yes. Education has to respond directly to the climate crisis by preparing students to adapt, to mitigate, hopefully even reverse its effects, instilling a whole new way of seeing humans as part of the planet, not separate from it.
Recognizing that interconnectedness.
Exactly, and empowering students to take meaningful action in their communities and globally.
So it all points towards needing something bigger, a fundamental shift.
It does, what the sources call a new social contract for education. One built on principles of social justice, economic justice, environmental justice, knowing what we know now, epistemic justice, and crucially, one that actively involves young people in shaping it.
We've definitely covered a lot of ground today, really diving deep into how education is being rethought for, well, a pretty unpredictable future. What really strikes me is it's not just about the shiny new tech.
Yeah, not at all.
It's about how we choose to use it, how we support our amazing educators, and how we empower learners like you listening to navigate this complex world.
Absolutely. So perhaps final thought for you to take away and mull over. In a world where knowledge just keeps expanding and changing so rapidly, how can you personally embrace that idea of lifelong learning? And how can you contribute, even in small ways, to shaping an educational future that's truly equitable, sustainable, and inclusive for everyone?